All right, another video for the GL 1500 carburetor replacement. This is the cruise control mod. First we got to start off with the disclaimer here. All persons that install this mod assures to install it correctly and at their own risk, and assumes all liability thereafter. This kit is for racing purposes only and not to be used on public roads. Okay, now that that's over, there's a lot to kind of deal with in this kit, this mod. So it's especially important to follow directions exactly as I show them to you, so that everything works out correctly and it performs how you want. So first we can start with, this is how the carb's going to come, of course. Your throttle plate will go here. There's the nut and the lock washer, the lock tab. There's a washer here. Do not take that off. Leave that on. Stainless steel washer. So that's just a backup ring. So for now, we're just going to put this back on. So your throttle plate will go on, and then this will go on, and then the nut, of course. Okay, so first we'll get started with the throttle cable here. You want to thread your throttle cable nut off completely. Honda jiggers the threads so they don't come off usually, so just keep threading it. Hold this with a 10mm and then just keep cranking this off, and then put it back on a few times to get the threads all nice and clean so it rolls on there, because you're going to thread this onto this bracket. The throttle goes on the top, the cruise goes on the bottom one. Okay, so get the threads clean. You probably have to do this with cruise control pod also. The threads have to be all the way unthreaded and put back on a few times so the threads are all cleaned up. So, okay. Now this is a barrel adapter you'll get in the kit. You want to take this and slip it on your throttle cable. Okay, throttle cable, and the end will stick out a little bit, as you can see here. It's raised up a little bit. You want to take a pair of vice grips or any flat blade pliers that go together evenly. And you want to go right where the slot is and just pinch it a little bit. I'm not going to do it on this one, so because this is the good one. I'm not going to press it down, just a little bit to crimp these ends in so the cable will not just slide off like that when it's in the throttle bracket. So once it's locked in, once you crimp these ends down here, once you pinch these together just a little bit, make sure the cable is all the way down in its seat, and then pinch it together. And you don't have to do it much, just enough so the cable doesn't come out. It doesn't take much force. And that's done with that. So you can put that off to the side, or if it's on the bike. Now your cable, your pod, this is the assembly for the pod. You might have to unscrew this. I don't know which way. Sometimes you have more room with some cables. But you're going to get this, you'll have this, you'll have one of those. And you'll have a set screw. All right, those 4 items there. So we're going to assemble the pod cable onto the throttle bracket. You have to do it off the carb. So first you're going to take this and you're going to dab a little bit of Moly assembly lube paste. They sell it in a smaller quantities, maybe in a little packet, but this stuff will last quite a long time. It won't wear away or wash away. So take some of this on a straw or a little pick or something, not too much, and just dab it around this furrow nut here on the inside. Don't get any on the threads. Dab it around this portion where there's no threads, because this is where it's going into the throttle hole. And then take this bracket here and dab a little bit on this side where this is, not on the back side. So dab a little bit right here around this, around the hole. Don't get it in the hole, just around the hole. Okay? And you're done there. Then take this furl, slide it from the back in so it looks like that. So the threads are part of the U shape for the cable. So it's then thread on your nut, cylinder nut here. And kind of just hand tight it. Now what you want to do is you want to have, I'm ahead of myself a little bit here, sorry about that. Before you put this nut on, this cylinder nut, you want to put Loctite in the threads. So you want to put red Loctite because you're not going to be taking this off anytime soon. So if you're comfortable with blue, blue will probably be all right, but red will make sure it stays on there. So put the red in the hole, in the threads on here, just a little bit on the end. Let me get my pointer out. Just a little bit on the end of the threads on here. Don't go any further. So a little bit there, and squeeze a little bit in the barrel, and then thread the barrel on. Okay. Now this is important. Thread it on so it's sort of snug. You want to back it off. It's hard to say what, maybe a 1/16. See, that was just a little bit like that. Just to have it turn. That's all you want to do. You don't want to have it wobbling too much. So don't back it off so it wobbles. Just enough so it turns. Even less than a 1/16 probably is all you're going to need. Anyway, do it so it just barely doesn't wobble much and it still rotates around. And then let it set up overnight. So the Loctite is completely dry and set up. Put it off this side. Okay, we're going to fast forward. You're back. It's been the next day. Check it, make sure everything is tight. Nothing is, it's all Loctite is set up. Everything's fine. Okay, then take your cable. Put your cable in. See, it's going to sit up like this. Just slide it in the slot like that. You can use blue Loctite on the Allen set screw. So just put it on the set screw threads. Don't put it in here. Just put it on the threads. And then thread in the set screw into the cable adapter. Thread in there. Now you want to thread it in just flush. You don't want to tighten it all the way onto the cable. You want the cable to move, you see, like this. So just do the Allen set screw so the set screw is flush with the nut here. It's already been adjusted, so it should be fine. Even if it's a little out, it's all right. And then that can be, you can let it set that up for a few hours or keep progressing, that's fine. You don't have to let it sit overnight. But okay, now you're done with that. Now we're gonna go on to putting it on the carburetor. So you unscrew your nut here. You don't need any Loctite on here because you have this locking tab. You can put some thread grease on here to protect the threads or from getting galled up. But put your bracket on. It goes like this, so the throttle cable is down here. Put your tab on. Now this is important. Only tighten this to 15 to 20 foot-pounds, preferably with a lever bar torque wrench, not a clicker. So that is, what is that? Inch-pounds? Yeah, see, that's inch-pounds, not foot-pounds. So you just go ahead and tighten it. Before you tighten it, you want to use a piece of metal, maybe a 1/8 of an inch. This is probably too thick, but you can use a piece of, let's see if I have something here. At least an 1/8 of an inch thick. Just to make sure it's away. You can use a piece of, right between the throttle stop screw. So back the throttle out like you're giving it gas and put the piece of metal in here against the stop screw. So when you tighten it, you're not forcing the choke mechanism and gonna jam that up. Once the metal is in there, see, like that, right between the stop screw and the throttle, go ahead and tighten it to 15 to 20 foot-pounds, right? And if you have to go further to get to the flat spot on the nut, that's fine. Just go whatever you need to get it to the flat spot, but don't go any over that. And then bend your tab over on the nut to hold the nut on. So you're pretty much done with that. Now you have this connected to the throttle, which will now pull the throttle open and closed, however the computer says it to do. So once you're done with all those steps, you're almost there. You're going to get this. And what you want to do is, I don't have the bike here, but on the right side of the motorcycle, when you're sitting on it, there'll be a frame rail, that rectangle frame rail. There's one on the left and one on the right. You know, where it's open where the carburetor is going to sit. About right in here, there's a hole that Honda drilled. It's probably a vent hole when they were welding. That hole, there's only one hole there, anywhere on here. It's on the right side, a little bit down. You want to take an 8mm by 125 pitch tap. It's already drilled. You don't have to drill it out. It's already drilled to the same, from the size you need it. You want to tap it out. Use some tapping compound, of course. Do it clean threads. Tap it out, right? Then install this into the threads. You'll use a washer. Put the nut on here first. Sorry about that. Put the nut on here first. Put the washer on. Thread it into the tube on the frame. Go about a 1/2 inch to so down into the frame. You can use a little Loctite, blue Loctite on the frame there once, just to keep this from vibrating or whatever. I'll probably have Nylox on here so they don't vibrate off. Then this is how it's going to look here. You'll have two nuts and 2 washers. You're going to stick the pod. I believe it is this one here, this hole. Washer, nut, and then another washer, and the other nut. Now you can adjust this any way you want. It's, you know, there's all threads. So you can go down here, put it down here. It depends how you want to set it on your frame, how low you need it to clear stuff. But it's going to sit kind of like this. This is the bite. So it's going to be kind of like this on the frame. So, and then snug all that up. This is your vacuum to your computer for your cruise. Just run the vacuum hose to it. There'll be a little longer piece in the kit so you can run the... Now when you're done with all that, you put your throttle cable in, right, at the end. Let me move this back so you can see it. The throttle cable will be pinched in, so it's locked in there, it won't fall out. You go ahead and put that into the throttle bracket, and then you'll have it come over. So there you go. The pinched part is in toward the carburetor. So so when the carburetor pulls, now what you want to do is when you have it all set up and adjusted in maybe a 1/8 inch free play, you want about an 1/8, probably a 1/16 free play for the pod cable down here. Probably that much. 1/16 play, just so it releases all the way, and the throttle cable can be the same. Give the when it's all tightened up in the brackets, everything's in the bracket. Throttle cable, pod cable. It's going to be like this. So operate the throttle, full throttle back, full throttle back. Check all the cables for binding or gonna hit something. It all should be free. Everything should work freely. This is going to move down like this when you give the throttle open, when you're not using the cruise. This will move down. When this moves up, of course, this will move down. So it should be all working freely. Check for any binds anywhere and fix the problem. I know it sounds like a lot, but it's not. Once you get into it, it's not bad. I did a test one here. See, I just pinched the side. See how those ends are right there? They're just pinched together a little bit. That's all you have to do. You don't have to kill it. So when you pinch this cable. So that's about it. If there is any other questions, you can reach me at onefastmotor@msn.com. All spelled out, of course. ONE, Fast Motor. You'll have to carry this on or whatever with the cable and stick it on the bike as it is. Just put this somewhere. That's about the only place you could mount this in that bike and have room for the other stuff. So And there'll be a note on the card, but double check your carburetor nuts here. I only set them a little bit just for shipping. Tighten them back up. Like I said again, 20 inch-pounds, or 25 maybe at the most. You don't have to kill those. Other than that, that's it. There'll be instructions for the carburetor adjustment in the package, in the kit. And I appreciate it. Thank you very much for watching.